for people who don't know, pilot training is a shit show. Pilot training sucks. I think when you go to Naval Flight Aviator School in Pensacola, I think that's the only fun, quote unquote, fun version. And I'll let a naval aviator tell me if that's true or not. But for Air Force, it sucks everywhere. It's 14-hour days of rote memorization and drilling and everything else, and it sucks. But Nuke School was fun, dude. Nuke School was a shit ton of fun because there's like no stress, because everybody basically labels a nuclear missile officer as like the shit cans of the Air Force anyways. So there's zero pressure for you to be like high achieving or be excellent, right?
A low bar.
Yeah, but then to pass the ASVAB, to get to Nuke School, you got to be smart.
Yeah.
So you got a bunch of like smart people with no pressure to overachieve.
Yeah. Smart rejects.
Yeah, and you're all sitting there knowing that no matter how hard you try or how much you slack, you're all going to end up underground 30 days out of every 180 days, right? Yeah. So you already know it's coming. So you're just kind of on this path, and I mean that was the most true Air Force experience I had. Like the Officers Club every Friday, playing pool and shooting darts and having barbecues at friends' houses, and you're only working 8 hours a day, and that was it. People getting engaged, people dating, and people getting drunk on the weekends and on 3-day weekends. Like that was a fun time.
So what is a typical 8-hour shift or the 30 days underground out of 180? What does that consist of?
So I'll go back one step, because when it comes to Nuke School, most of what you're doing at Nuke School is understanding the operating systems that drive the capsule.
Are you learning about the capabilities in terms of how many megatons or whatever the fucking bombs are? And they're like laughably more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right?
But also more controlled. Yeah. So yes, you're learning about the warheads and the yields. You're learning about the realities of what does the world look like before you launch? What does the world look like after you launch? And you're supposed to be still be a viable officer after you launch. So, you turn those keys, you launch those weapons. You don't just stay underground. You got to come out through the escape hatch and then start leading soldiers again, right? So there's all this stuff that goes into it, plus how the targeting system works, how the rocket system works, how the maintenance system works. How do you communicate with the military police? How do you communicate with the chef? How do you communicate with command and control? And how do you escalate? And all the gigantic book of checklists. You got to run through all those checklists and go through simulators. They have missile silo simulators that you actually go through all the actions for all the different outcomes. So it's fun, but it's like 6 or 8 months of that. All of that happens so that when you get on the job and you're actually sitting in the silo, you're doing very little. Yeah. Like every 45 to 90 minutes, a new EAM comes in. You go through the whole process of doing your tippity tap, bippity boppity boop, and then you wait for 30 to 90 minutes or 90 to 45 to 90 minutes for the next one and the next one. And for me, in 2008, they moved us to 3-day shifts. So you would be underground with the same person for 3 days. And that was coming off of a 24-hour shift before that. So
is it ever co-ed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there some shit going on?
Always.
Hey, we can make this 3 days go by real fucking fast.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you that's what the life, what you do in the capsule, as you would expect, is peacetime operations. So it's just, the most exciting thing happens is a maintenance alarm goes off, right? Because a rabbit runs across the nuclear site. That's about it.
So what you're telling me is that there's a strong possibility that right this second, some nuke officer is getting blown underground just to pass the time.
Yeah.
There's a strong chance.
There's a strong chance. And I would actually say even stronger that the chances are both of them are butt ugly.
Yeah.
Because if they were good looking, the Air Force would have put them somewhere else.
Back to the school portion, is there time spent on adversarial capability and how we stack and how everybody else stacks up?
Yes, and that's one of the most interesting things about it. So I actually got my top secret SCI clearance from the Air Force. SCI being Special Compartmented Information. You can't work at CIA unless you have a TS-SCI. That's what takes the most time for most candidates who go into the CIA. So it was the Air Force that got me my TS-SCI, because in order to learn the nuclear categories of classification, you have to be an SCI. And that was where I learned about, Chinese missile capabilities, Russian missile capabilities, the truth behind rumored nuclear capabilities, because there are countries that people don't know if they have nukes. Nobody knows officially nobody knows if the UK has nukes, if Israel has nukes, if North Korea has nukes, if Iran has nukes, if Syria had nukes, if Iraq had nukes. So the classified side of those you learn in that school system. But then you also learn how our missiles are different or better or worse than some of their capabilities. You learn about Russians' train-based nuclear missiles and China's liquid fuel-based nuclear missiles, because all of America's nuclear missiles are, all of America's Air Force missiles are solid state, solid fuel. I think the Navy missiles might also be solid state fuel.
What is solid state fuel?
Solid state fuel is essentially what your like if your fireworks on 4th of July. Yep. It's
shit.
Mm-hmm. It's a fuel source that's dehydrated.
Like bottle rockets.
Yeah. Right. Only a little bit more powerful.
Right. Well, yeah, I would hope.